For Sunday, September 10th, you found the Georgia gang. Topping our agenda today, the governor says this is a crisis. At MARTA, a major personnel move, and Emory into the city of Atlanta, a delay. Some of the stories up for grabs on the Georgia gang.
From the Fox 5 studios, the Georgia gang starts now.
And we're glad you can be with us on this Sunday. We think it is a time of uncertainty as we taped, and of course, even on Sunday morning, we don't know the full scope of Hurricane Irma. Governor Deal, though, seems to be on top of things, Phil.
He is. He had a press conference Friday morning, and he outlined several key things that does show that he's on top of it. And one of them, which I think is we'll see since this tapes on Sunday, was that I-16 had no eastbound traffic, and so that's helping with the evacuation. And I think that Attorney General Carr, it was announced that he will be on guard and vigilant with price gouging. As we know, that's been a problem when we have these type of disasters. And what the governor said too, Dick, is that he wants to try to get a physician in every shelter.
A physician and a public health nurse.
That's right.
It was very impressive the way all the State Department has laid it out. It's interesting the magnitude of this storm in terms of evacuation, early preparations. For example, Alexis, when you came to tape Friday morning, no go, huh?
No go. I mean, had to just completely avoid 75, 85 north because it's backed up down to Macon, people trying to come away from the storm. So it was a very circuitous route I took to get here.
Well, we don't know how it will play out. We never do. But we do know that the state of Georgia is open. State parks are open for visitors. People will, as usual, take in friends and family. Everybody knows somebody who lives in Florida.
I've got some South Florida evacuees at home.
That's right. You have family there.
Yeah.
So we'll all do what we have to do.
I will say the coordination with FEMA, and I think you're getting this from all quarters, has been excellent when you compare this with the Katrina catastrophe.
That was the big lesson learned.
That's right. It was the lesson learned.
It was a lesson learned.
Everybody takes these things a little bit more seriously. We know that it's coming. We know that it's coming hard. And hopefully we'll all be prepared.
Well, and that's right. And
you got Atlanta Motor Speedway over there. Didn't mention that. Taking in folks.
Campground.
Campground there, and fresh hot showers and all that. And you know, but it's gonna. We're gonna get hit. And it looks like even Metro Atlanta could get hit with Category 1 storms and tornadoes.
And you know this.
And the strain on government, I think it's worth mentioning because we forget quickly. Here's Irma. And there's still Harvey.
Right.
Right.
And the federal and state.
Right behind Irma, there's
Jose.
So.
But the federal and state resources are. We're glad they're prepared, but they're really got to be stretched and taxed.
Well, they are, and of course, the governors are the key. Now, I think that President Trump deserves a lot of credit, too. He has been hands-on. He has been telling the governors of Florida and Georgia that anything you want, you get. There's been preparations, to your point, that we never saw at Katrina.
He's doing a great job making deals with Democrats on debt ceiling. I think he's doing a great job.
Well, but that freed up the hurricane.
That freed up the hurricane.
Well, of course it freed up the hurricane aid. That was the point of the Democrats, I think.
Well, that was the point of the president.
Well, it was the point of everybody to help
I think
everybody.
You did. I don't know if you're being sarcastic or you're actually praising him.
No, you know I'm being facetious.
Well, yes. I'm actually going to praise him for doing that, to get the money, to your point.
Well, I don't think we've got a single Georgia congressman who would agree with you.
Well, you're wrong about that.
Well,
okay,
the
have you talked to him?
Yes, I have. I don't know where you're getting that.
I'd also like to point out that
you don't think people like John Lewis would agree?
No, I'm talking about the 10 Republicans.
You've got.
How about Hank Johnson?
No, I'm talking about the 10. I'm talking about the Republicans.
You do have some Republicans.
Well, the other thing I want to point out too is that this is when you need the federal government, when you need the government to provide and be
I don't think anyone disagrees with that.
Nobody disagrees
I don't
with
think
that.
anyone disagrees with that. Conservatives agree with that.
Conservatives don't want any government.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Look,
Conservatives are for help when it comes to catastrophes. I mean, that's, I don't know where you're getting that from.
I want to change the subject, but let me just say this.
Yes.
Katrina was not a federal problem. Katrina was the incompetence of the governor of Louisiana and the mayor of New Orleans.
Right.
And the two couldn't get their act together. They didn't bring the feds in. What we've learned from Katrina, you're absolutely right, Alexis, is that the federal government can do this if it coordinates with the states.
Yes.
And with the National Guard and all that. Right. And it's being done to the best that we know.
I don't think that you need to bring the federal government in for it to see on television that that thing is heading toward us.
You don't think we should bring the
I
federal
don't think we
government in?
need to bring the federal government in. I think that they can see it and they can get into action. You don't need you don't need a call from the governor or mayor in New Orleans for the federal government to see a hurricane headed toward the coast.
But you will
of
agree that in
Louisiana.
Katrina, the state response was lacking.
I would think that the response of the federal government was lacking, and that's why we had the disaster that we had. I think every possible emergency agency has learned from that debacle. And hopefully we can go on from there and we'll be prepared. I hope that Georgia's prepared. I hope that Florida is prepared. I mean, this storm is bigger than Florida.
It's bigger than the state of Georgia, state of Florida, the
Right,
width of
the
the
cone
storm.
envelops the entire peninsula of Florida. And then and remember, I don't want to, we should be off this by now, but because we don't really know.
Right.
But all of us have seen the outfall of some of these storms. For example, flooding in South Carolina.
Yes.
Flooding in North Carolina.
We could have flooding here too.
It can happen in lots of different ways. And
Right.
as Governor Deal remarked Friday morning, Georgia is a particular spawning ground for tornadic activity. So we've got to be alert for that. We don't know though, so let's change the subject. And I was very surprised this week when young Keith Parker stepped down as general manager of MARTA. The guy had done a great job, praised all around for his work there, only 50 years old, on his way to becoming, I suggest, the top transit person in the United States. And he quit to go to work for Goodwill. Jeff, since you introduced us to Keith Parker, explain what he's doing.
Well, I think that he's sort of reading the writing on the wall that in the Trump administration and in cities and counties across the United States, transit isn't getting the priority and getting the attention that it deserves, and particularly in the halls of Washington and Congress.
Used coats and dresses are more important?
Used coats and dresses are more
He's going to
important.
Goodwill Industries.
Well, they do a little bit more in used coats and dresses, and you know, it's a great job. It's a public sector job. The former CEO made nearly $1 million in 2015. It's clearly a step up for somebody like Keith Parker, but I think that you have to lament the loss of that kind of talent and expertise in public transit, and we should. I mean, ideally, if Keith Parker was moving on, he'd be moving on to another bigger transit job.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's unfortunate that he's leaving the industry.
So you don't think there's any more to it? I mean, he's only 50 now. He does have 3 kids in school.
Yeah.
And now one of the things that was interesting was I thought at first that because that Goodwill of North Georgia pays so much. Remember, this is Goodwill of North Georgia.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Almost $1 million to the boss. Boy, this nonprofit stuff is pretty good. Got to tell you that.
Well, a lot of it is, but they are competing for the talent too.
No bottom line to meet, just pay yourself a lot of money?
I think
So I thought he was going for the
that's
money,
not
but then we learned that MARTA is paying Keith Parker $500,000 a year, Phil.
I'm going to agree
Too
with
much.
Alexis. You know, you go with the talent, and I'm going to go with Jeff. I think we've all appreciated in the last 5 years how he has turned MARTA around. There's a reserve now.
No
Who would have thought
question.
that?
No question.
5 years ago. I do disagree with you, Jeff, though. There's a huge international bridge, tunnel, and toll conference here in Atlanta tomorrow. Keith Parker will be talking about that, and he is optimistic about what President Trump is going to be doing with transportation. I think you're going to have more of a friendly ear than maybe perhaps some other Republicans.
Well,
so I think you're a little harsh on that.
I think that you have to wonder why somebody with that background and that talent would leave the industry entirely, especially at this juncture in his career.
Well, you know what?
Well, it's not just the money. There's something else
I
here.
think it's a comfort zone too. That's a very
I agree that it's
stressful
not
job.
just. I agree that it's not just the money, and that's why I think that it may be some of the policy decisions that are being made along the way.
If he wanted to stay here, I think it's a great job move. He did a great job. We all agree on MARTA. So
in the meantime, Liz O'Neill, the general counsel,
Right.
longtime general counsel there, Elizabeth O'Neill at MARTA, is taking over as interim general manager. My understanding is that she doesn't want the job permanently, which is probably why she should get it.
but she
also-
should
well,
be keeping the trains running, right?
Well, they're also
Right.
creating a national search again, the same way they did, which
Right.
brought Keith Parker here.
Well,
So-
let me summarize. We got to get out, but I think Keith Parker did a great job, especially after the I-85 blowout. I was shocked to learn that he's paid $500,000 a year. Well,
I think that that's not his base salary.
No,
It
but
seemed to
that's-
me that it was around $350 or so.
but it's gone up. It's gone up. It's by orders of magnitude. The Commissioner of Transportation got heat for getting $350,000. Now Keith Parker's going to go sell used coats and dresses.
No, come on.
And make close to $1 million. There's something wrong with the nonprofit sector.
Also employs people who have special needs, and
well, that's true too.
Are not able to
I agree.
Now let's look at Charity Navigator, which is an excellent website that rates charities, and they always tell you what's actually going to the client and what are the salaries that the management make. I have not looked,
yeah, okay.
and I don't think it's up yet. But that'll be
let's
interesting.
report next week. All
okay.
Right. When we come back, the kind of a glitch into the annexation of Emory University and its affiliates. We'll explain that when we return.
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Visit their website at fox5atlanta.com.
Interesting wrinkle this week is before the Atlanta City Council and DeKalb County government. The delay, there's a delay now in the annexation of Emory University's children's health care and others into the city, into the city of Atlanta. Mm-hmm.
Well,
why? Arbitration.
Yes, absolutely, and we knew that was going to come because of the action on the part of the DeKalb County government. They asked for that arbitration. It's going to take place, and I think that after that you'll see this thing begin to move a little bit. But I guess probably maybe even the bigger story is news from the Atlanta Public Schools that they actually went in on this deal and will probably be a part of that arbitration, and so that sort of throws a new component into this.
And there are also wrinkles too with regard to zoning and with regard to things like the heights of buildings, and
they'll work all that out.
They can work through that, but I think, Jeff, you're right. The school situation is the big one.
It is.
Maria Karstaffen has said she wants the Atlanta Public Schools to educate the children. Right now, there are only a few. It's several hundred, I think.
8.
800.
8 single digit.
8 single digit.
8 single digit.
As far as I know, yeah.
8.
8. Yes.
So that's not a whole bunch of people.
But Maria Karstaffen knows what's coming. And it could be that the neighborhoods around Emory opt to join the annexation to the city of Atlanta. She would quite rightfully want control of those schools. We'll see where it goes. I don't know exactly. The Fulton County Commission this week passed its millage rate. Now, you know, it's September. This stuff is usually done way earlier in the year. And it amounts to a tiny tax decrease because they're using the 2016 assessments. Cities don't seem to be having a problem with it, but the Atlanta School Board, these are the laws of unintended consequences. Yes. The school board had to borrow $100 million in advance because it's not going to get its tax money on time because of delays in the assessments.
Well, that's right, and it was not fair to the school system, but as a Fulton County or the taxpayer, but as a Fulton County, they still have to straighten out these glitches. We remember discussing there was some 90-plus neighborhoods that were completely fouled up with these assessments.
Well, yeah, you're going to get those assessments back. It might not be immediately, but soon. When you get a $100 million tax anticipation note just from the school system alone, and cities probably, and Fulton are going to do the same thing to one extent or another. It may not be as big, but they're going to do the same thing. So, I mean, you know, the assessments are going to have to rise to pay off those notes.
And I'm glad we're warning them.
Okay. Well, and then next year, when they do the reassessment that they didn't implement this year, then they'll probably roll the millage rate back.
Assuming there's no screw-ups in the assessor's office.
Well, now, one thing Democrats do is taxes. They do it well. And Michael Thurmond is no exception. The chief executive of DeKalb County has quickly gotten everybody in DeKalb County to agree
on board to
a massive tax increase.
Massive.
Yeah, 1 cent.
A 1 cent tax. Yeah, the first ever in DeKalb's history. First ever special option sales tax. Yes, it's the first plus.
No, but there was host before that.
There was host, but this is the first plus. You know that there's a difference between them. It's the first special option sales tax.
Still more money on the homeowner.
You have to, you know, and then you have the cities, and they're negotiating for not 5 years, but 6, and they were able to get their 6 years.
I don't think your spin is working, Jeff.
It's
still
not
money
spin.
on more money at the homeowner's pocket.
It's not spin. It's what happened.
Well, voters have to approve it, and they probably will because Democrats always approve tax increases. And so it'll happen, but it's actually a pretty good deal.
I'm glad you think so.
Odd for me to say this, but DeKalb is so mismanaged that it has 400 miles of unpaved roads in a backlog. So this will help with that.
I don't think that it's
The current
mismanaged. I think
1
that
cent
it's
sales-
been so underfunded that they haven't been able to do it, and that's why this is necessary.
The current 1 cent sales tax will go for property tax relief. I like that. The new tax will go for things you can see. Fix the road, fix the pothole.
Exactly right.
Fix the bridge.
Exactly right.
So
Exactly
it's
right.
not a bad
Fire
thing.
departments, upgrading fire
Well,
stations, all of that kind of
And I
stuff.
can
This
tell
is
you
all necessary.
That's all work that needs to be done.
That's work
There
that
you
needs
go.
to be
But I think it
done.
was interesting that Michael
we got
Thurman,
a Republican
Michael
also
Thurman
who's
got
for the
every
tax
city mayor
increase.
to agree to it,
All of the city mayors
which
were
shows
there
that
and agreed.
he's a pretty capable fella.
That's
even
right.
if he does want to raise taxes. All right, we have to get out. I hope we do get to the new city of South Fulton. That's fun. We'll see
hope
what
we
we
get to
do
Snellville.
when we regroup. We got to get
Oh,
to
boy.
Snellville too. All right, stay with us. The road to Snellville.
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Visit their website at fox5atlanta.com.
As promised, news on the city of Snellville, where politics are incredibly convoluted, where mayors come and go. Snellville is a fascinating place, but not so fascinating that I've had time to really get into it. However, the mayor is in big trouble.
The mayor is in big trouble. 66 counts, 65 of them felonies, ranging from lying, ranging from misusing campaign finance money for personal use. We don't have time to go down the list, but it's horrible and it's disgraceful.
It's too bad the feds didn't know about this. They're too busy trying to chase stuff in City Hall that they can't find the real corruption and the real scandals. The real scandals don't seem to be in the city of Atlanta. They seem to be out in Snellville.
Well, no.
Yeah,
Where's the
and you
DA?
didn't mention.
Where's the DA?
And you didn't mention the.
Where's the
you
DA?
didn't mention the misdemeanor. The misdemeanor was for using campaign funds for pornography site on the internet.
I didn't know that one.
You didn't
Yeah,
know that
that
one.
was
Okay,
terrible, yeah.
well, yeah, no, this guy
Jeff,
is in bad shape.
Jeff, the district attorney of Gwinnett County, Danny Porter, did his job.
He did do his job, and we are. And did you see what he said in the paper?
we
He
see-
said he had never seen this level of entitlement before.
Yeah.
Here's a guy who wasn't paying his taxes, wasn't paying his state taxes, was lying about it on forms and whatnot. And we got hundreds, and
Allegedly.
hundreds. We got gallons of
Allegedly.
ink talking about
and not only
purported
did he-
scandals in the city of Atlanta. It doesn't make any sense.
Well-
And
there's
not
some
only
real
did he
scandal
not
for
pay
you.
his taxes as a city council member, but he went on to run for mayor and got elected mayor doing all this shenanigans.
Let me
Crazy.
turn to another city, though,
People
a new
don't care
one,
about
city
it.
of South Fulton, that I think is worth our consideration. It's a large city. It's brand new. They're having the growing pains. And the mayor is Bill Edwards, and I didn't hold out a lot of hope for that former Fulton County commissioner, but it was fascinating. The council voted to hire aides. This is what Democrats do. They create public jobs. They hire aides. So you're going to have these council people who get paid about $12,000 a year hiring aides at $40,000 a year.
To do the work.
And Bill Edwards, the former
no.
Fulton County commissioner, what?
He
Said
said
no.
no.
He vetoed it. You're darn right he did.
Good for him.
So I will
for
make him,
him.
as
And he's a Democrat, right?
exactly.
And he vetoed it.
I think he
right?
realized
Exactly.
that they couldn't afford it.
Just want to
Isn't that
set the record
amazing?
straight.
Yes, yes.
Well, also the optics on it are so bad. Forget whether you can afford it. They don't know what they can afford because
Well,
the Fulton County taxes aren't settled
He
yet.
also vetoed something else. They wanted a holiday on Election Day, and he vetoed that too.
Yeah, that's true. Now, in the city of Atlanta this week, it didn't get a lot of play, but I'll tell you what, it infuriated me. The Atlanta City Council voted to keep DACA, the Deferred Childhood Arrivals deal that Obama signed into law illegally.
As an executive
And-
order, it
As
had
an
never been
executive order?
proved illegal in a
But
court.
all the courts are ruling that that was the wrong thing to do. The point is, the Atlanta
they
City Council,
didn't.
once again with its own foreign policy, decided we want to keep DACA.
Well,
And we don't want police checking on the immigration status of people they pull into custody.
Well, how about that? I
That's-
think that's great. They had a different policy. Joe Arpaio, didn't he have a
Tell
different
your
policy
police
down
not
there
to enforce the law?
In Arizona? He had a different policy.
That had
to
nothing to do with
over-enforce
this.
the law, right?
That had
to go
nothing to
and-
do with this.
Oh, yeah, to profile everybody who looked Hispanic and check their immigration status. You don't think that has
Jeff,
anything to do with this?
Let's explain what the Atlanta
My
City
point
Council.
is that localities obviously have their own way of handling
the
this
Atlanta
issue.
City Council is flaunting the law.
Let's explain
Well,
what.
the law-
Let's tell the viewers what the Atlanta City Council did. The Atlanta City Council, aside from DACA, which is fine, they can do a resolution on anything they want.
Right.
But what they did do is tell the feds, we're not going to cooperate with you on detainers or waivers with criminal illegal aliens. That to me is irresponsible, especially when you have a massive gang problem in Atlanta, in Georgia, and nationwide, and you need to be coordinating with the feds to get these people off the streets. It's a public safety issue, Jeff. I think City Councilman Kwanzaa Hall is totally irresponsible to have sponsored this. You need to help fight this gang problem in particular.
But that is totally separate from the DACA issue.
It is separate from the DACA issue. That's why I'm not discussing DACA. I'm talking about the fact that in that resolution, they don't want to help Homeland Security and ICE when it comes to criminal illegal gangs. That's wrong.
No, it was about DACA. And the fact of the matter is that the president said this isn't going to be a priority. When he revoked DACA, what they were essentially revoking were new applications. They're not going to go out and hunt these kids down, Phil. I don't think that that's anybody's intention.
He
did say that. That's my point. And I think that that's all the city of Atlanta was saying.
No, Jeff, you're missing the rest of the story, that they don't want to cooperate with the feds with regard to detainers to keep these people in jail, especially if they're gangbangers.
It's one step from being a sanctuary city.
It is.
Well, which the Trump administration has said will cut off your funds.
It's totally anti-enforcement.
Well, I think it's...
Again, the president has said there's not going to be any enforcement.
I'm not talking about DACA.
Right.
I'm talking about cooperation with the feds.
No, there's two issues. DACA is one thing. The other is sanctuary cities.
I haven't even addressed DACA. I'm talking about the sanctuary city lack of enforcement.
Okay, to get out, we should note, Phil, quickly, President Trump nominated 2 jurists, one to the Court of Appeals here in Atlanta. That would be Lisa Branch and Stan Baker to the federal bench in the Southern District of Georgia.
These are both federal judgeship nominations by the president. Lisa Branch, I know her very well, an excellent choice. And Stan Baker, another excellent choice, who's a federal magistrate. All
right, so when we return, we will find out who this week's winners and losers will be. Stay with
us. Time now for the week's winners and losers.
Kind of hard to say the overall winners and losers of this week because we don't know where Hurricane Irma and after that Hurricane Jose will be or their impact upon us. So let's go for lower hanging fruit. And Jeff, I'll start with you.
Thank you. I want to make my CEO, Mike Thurman, the winner for bringing DeKalb County together for a special option sales tax for obviously some way overdue infrastructure needs. We didn't mention the name of the Snellville mayor, who is my loser. His name is Tom Witt.
Tom Witt.
And I want to mention his name, Tom Witt, the guy who is using campaign funds for pornography and 65 felonies.
And a Porsche.
Because, you know, we got people named in Atlanta who haven't even been indicted, Phil. Not even indicted, not even charged.
You might want to wait.
So let's say it again. Tom Witt.
You might want to wait.
You might want to wait for those indictments.
Lori, mark the tape. On that one. All right. Go ahead, Alexis.
Okay. The Atlanta Business League is naming Wanya Lucas, the head of Public Broadcasting Atlanta, as the first recipient of the Lottie Watkins Female First Award, named for Lottie Watkins, a beloved businesswoman in real estate here in Atlanta. Also, Rosalind Brewer, who is the chair of the Spelman College Board of Trustees and a Spelman alum herself, has been named the Starbucks COO president.
That's a big job.
That's a big job. Congratulations to her. And then Charles Bell Sr. died this week. He was a part of the group of golfers who sued to play golf in public golf courses back in the 50s. And he was a local real estate gentleman as well. He died this week. And then finally, Alton Hornsby, who was the editor of the Journal on Negro History for the Association for the Study of Life in Negro History for 25 years, and a professor at Morehouse College, passed this week too. So he will be missed.
Can you imagine that golf was segregated as recently as the 1950s? That's just amazing.
It is.
All right, Phil, go ahead.
Well, I think a winner was the state now willing to experiment with the paper ballot trail, and you get a receipt. And I think that that's going to be the wave of the future. I think a large majority of Georgians and people like to have that paper trail.
Expensive.
It is expensive, but I think we're going to have it as an extra layer to prevent fraud.
I also
got a loser, which is an outrageous thing to occur. It occurred in Woodstock. That River Ridge high school teacher was caught trying to ban a Make America Great Again shirt. Come on, if you want to wear an Obama shirt or a Hillary shirt or a Make America Great shirt, as long as it's not disruptive, you know, leave the kids alone.
And even worse, she inserted her own political views into the discussion.
That's right, and she upset some of the children, and teachers should try to be objective. And I just want to, we started the broadcast talking about the MARTA head, Keith Parker, leaving, and that is truly a loss. He'll be missed.
That's a big loss. That guy had done wonders. All right. The Falcons open up today against the Chicago Bears. It's on Fox. We hope you'll tune into that. And you know, all this season I've been saying all these nice things about the Braves. To heck with it. They stink. Ballpark nice. Baseball team stinks. Where are all these young arms that we were promised? They're all out there, but they're just not any good.
Oh dear.
We got sold a bill of goods for the last year about this rebuild and reload. On a positive note, the stadium is nice. Okay, what am I going to say? See you
It's
next
a real
week.
estate company.
See you next week, the Georgia Gang. You're right.
The opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the panelists appearing in this program.